Okay, so welcome to day 4 of a 5-day WhatsApp bootcamp. Just 1 minute. Okay, so once again, I want to confirm with everyone. Am I audible and visible? Yes. I'm sharing my screen as well. Just give me a second. So welcome to day 5, day 4 rather. Okay, so what I want to do today is I just want to get bring the conclusion to our learning what we had for the last 3 days, because this is one of our favorite topics. Subconscious parenting is one of the strong foundation based on which you can build your child's character, the child's behavior. Everything can be worked upon with only these 2 topics: the conscious parent with the sleep learn technique, as well as vision charts. Okay, so you might be having a lot of doubts and confusion regarding this, how this entire concept works. So I just want to throw up some light on this for the first about 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Then I'll get started with today's session. Okay, great. Before that, I just want to ask you all, how do you think the 5-day boot camp is going? How many of you feel the money what you have paid is already recovered? How many of you feel that these 5 days efforts, what you people have put here, the time and effort, what you put here is worth it? Please type "it's worth it" in the chat box. Those of you who feel it is worth it, please go ahead. Madhurima Muntha is saying recovered. Yes, it's not a question of money. It's not a question of money. It's a question of the value and the efforts what you have put in here for being with us for the last 5 days. If it is opened up at least few bulb-on moments, we are totally delighted to have that kind of a feedback. Okay, so thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. This is exactly one of the reasons why we are here, doing it week after week after week. Okay, so I mean, the kind of feedback what we get from this 5-day backs is amazing. Okay, it really gets us a little bit emotional and it's overwhelming as well. Okay. So a couple of you might be having 1 or 2 queries regarding how this subconscious, why these people are talking so much about this positivity. And you go to any personality development or any parenting or any kind of, the first criteria is they talk about a lot of positivity. So sometimes down the line, there might be some kind of thought which might come into your mind that why we need to be so positive always, because ultimately the child is going to go through a lot of negative stuffs in the future as well, right? When they grow up, they're exposed to a lot of negative things. Isn't this wise on our part to give them a little bit of dose of negativity? Does that doubt come to any one of you? It might, okay, because we're also a human being. We can't stay positive all the time. I'll tell you the reasons why. My mentor used to tell me always why we need to be always positive. Okay, the answer for that is, he used to tell me that I can't guarantee you success if you're a positive person, but I can certainly guarantee you failure if you're a negative person. No matter what qualities you have, what kind of attitude you're showing in your life, what knowledge you have, whatever may be your plus points, just because of the fact that you are a negative person by nature, even there is a little bit of element of negativity in your life, one or the other day you'll be seeing that failure. Of course, seeing failure is very good. I mean, we should not be seeing all the success all the time as well, but because you need to put in a lot of efforts if you have to be a positive person. For negativity is automatic. You don't have to do anything. Negativity, automatically things will go wrong, and ultimately we become negative. I'll give an example. Supposing if you're standing in your backyard, okay, and you find out that there is a little bit of space left in your backyard, and you want to probably, let's say, make use of your backyard and want to plant some rose plants. Maybe you want to have a rose garden there. That's a positive thought, right? Once that positive thought comes into your mind, then you have to put it into action. The action is what requires a lot of effort. Maybe you have to do it yourself, or you're going to hire a gardener, and you're going to level the soil, you're going to level the land, you're going to add some fertilizers and sunlight, water, everything. You go to a nursery, select beautiful, healthy saplings, you come and plant it. Maybe within the span of around 3 months or 2 or 3 months, you'll be able to see a beautiful rose garden, and your rose garden is really colorful. That's the reality. But there's a lot of effort which goes in, right? But in spite of having a view of a beautiful rose garden, here and there, you'll be able to spot few weeds, right? You know what I mean by weed? A plant which is probably was never part of your agenda, okay? The plant which grew all by itself. Your agenda was only to have rose garden, but here and there, you can spot a couple of weed plants as well. How do you think this weed came into existence? Because you never planned for it, you never picked up a sapling and planted there, it's come out all by itself. That is exactly what is the negativity we are referring to, okay? Because you have to put in a lot of efforts for being a positive person. For negativity, it is automatic, okay? So, and you don't have to do anything. And once this negativity goes inside, it is very difficult for you to delete that negativity. It's going to stay there forever. That's the reason you have to think of creating such kind of a positive atmosphere in the house. No TV serials, the mundane TV serials. Of course, they'll be having a lot. You'll be having sometimes you'll be having a scenario wherein your grandparents are there, your in-laws are there, they're watching the TV from morning to evening. But I don't know what you do. Okay, ultimately, you have to figure out a scenario wherein the child is not exposed to these kind of things. And some parents know they're very excited to watch horror movies. Okay, please control, all delete. Take these kind of habits out of your life, because it is no way it is going to be doing any good for your child. Because once the negativity gets inside, it's likely to stay there forever. It's not going to be deleted. It can be diluted. Like, I'll give you my own scenario. You know what happened? Recently, I think a couple of years back, we had gone for a jungle resort. The entire family, we had gone for a jungle resort. And there I happened to get hold of just a two-wheeler, okay? So in that, we are deep inside the jungle, and I think one of those hotel guys, they said they had a two-wheeler on hand. And me and my wife, we took I just challenged her. Why don't you go for a small ride and come? He said, you have to be very careful. It's getting late and you have to come back before the sunset. And we just started with the bike and we just went around for about 5-6 kilometers inside, and we want to come back. And by the time we were coming back, what happened? It was almost dark, okay? And before we could reach our destiny, back to our hotel, just about a kilometer before, the vehicle got conked off. No matter what I did, I used all my techniques and strength. The vehicle is not starting. Somewhere in the middle of the jungle, it's totally pitch dark and we are stuck there. And my wife is screaming and yelling and I don't know what to do. You know what happened at that point of time? I had never seen any horror movies in my life, to the best of my memory, but only when I was a small child, when I was probably about 8 or 9 years old. One of my cousin brothers, he was a horror movie freak. He had taken me to a couple of movies, only 2 movies. I remember one movie was Nightmare on the Elm Street. I remember the name as well. The other movie was Exorcist, some part 1, part 2, whatever the series. Those are the only movies which I've seen till now. And I don't remember a single scene or episode of that movie, which that is not at all part of my memory. But that particular night, we are in the middle of the jungle and only me and my wife, it is totally pitch dark. I don't know what to do. You know what? The complete movie played its role in front of my eyes. Every scene by scene, that movie is coming in front of my eyes. And that's the day I realized, because it has already gone into my subconscious memory. Maybe it is not evident, it is not there, but it is hidden inside. How many of you can relate to this? Okay. Once in a while, you don't remember many things, but suddenly, out of nowhere, some thought comes into your mind and you realize that it's part of your life. Probably you would have experienced when you were a small child. Is there anyone who's faced some scenario like this? Please type me in the chat box. Somebody can relate to this. So what I mean by this example is, once the negativity goes inside your child's mind, there is no way you will be able to delete it. But all that you can do is probably dilute it. How do you dilute it? It's like adding a drop of poison to a milk bowl. Once you add it, there is no way you'll be able to extract it out, right? It's gone. It's the entire milk bowl is poison. But all that you can do is keep on adding more milk and more milk, so that this one drop of poison will eventually get diluted. Is it a possibility? You can always do it, right? So on the same note, once the negativity gets into your mind or your child's mind, it is likely to stay there forever. All that you can do is think of eliminating only by dilution. There is no way you can eliminate it, but you can dilute it. Okay. So in this context, what you need to do is keep adding more and more and more and more positive memories to your child's life. The language, what you speak, the way you treat your child, the kind of the experiences, what you try to bring into your child's memory, that has to be more than the negative incidents or negative experiences what the child is going through. Am I making sense here? Please type yes in the chat box if you're in resonation with what I'm talking about. On that note, like for example, we keep on telling a lot of negative things, right? You are a bad boy, you're a bad girl. Maybe we don't mean it, but it's a part of our vocabulary. Without our knowledge, these kind of statements do come in. I don't know whether my wife has covered this aspect or not. If anyone of us used to use these kind of phrases, I mean, we don't really tell it out in a very hard tone or maybe to such an extent. It's not like we are scolding a child, but we just pass some loose comments like, you don't be a bad boy. If you do that, you'll be a bad boy. If you do that, you'll be a bad girl. If you are using this kind of vocabulary, please erase it out of your vocabulary. Because no child is in this world is bad. But you always relate to the activity or the behavior of the child. You are a good girl, come what may, you are a lovely character, I love you without any conditions, but what you are behaving right now, what you are telling right now, that is bad. You always focus on the event or the behavior or the attitude. You only refer to that, these things are bad. But as a child, you are still a lovable child. We love you for whatever you are. That should be a form of communication. So, based on this concept, we have an activity called catching them doing right. Try to understand. I'm just trying to unfold the entire concept layer by layer. Okay. There is a concept called as catching them doing right. You know the theory part. Okay. Till now, what I've explained to you is I've got you into the right mindset of thinking why that positivity has to be more than the negative stuff. And I've also given you the concept of how it will be affecting your child's subconscious mind. What I want to do now is I want to give you some activities. This activity is called as catching them doing right. So what you're going to do tonight, after the session gets over, sit along with your spouse and start creating a chart. Okay, just on statistics. Okay, just on small chart. Okay, mention your child's name or your children's name, one column, and write and just write all the names of all the members of your family. Okay, if there are like father, mother, and grandparents, write all their names. And whenever you see anybody hurting your child, or maybe the cause for creating that negative memory to the child, you just go ahead and start making a tick out of it. Maybe you scold your child, or maybe somebody does something because of which the child is getting a little bit upset, whatever might be the reason. Okay, we keep catching them doing wrong, right? How many times I've told you, don't spill the food? How many times I've told you, keep your slippers outside the house. Don't walk around in the house with your slippers on. How many times I've told you, don't sit in front of the TV for more than the time, whatever I told you. How many times I've told you, don't shout, speak. All these things are considered as negative comments. Okay. But invariably, we are human beings. We keep coming up with these kind of statements. Maybe we are not, our intention is not to hurt your child, but the child is eventually getting hurt. Okay. We are causing some kind of an unpleasant memory in your child's mind. How do you compensate is a main activity. How do you compensate is how many times you're catching your child doing something right in a day, because by default, your child doesn't want to be labeled as a bad boy or a bad girl, or maybe doing all the time some things which is irritating you. By default, the child also gets himself or herself engaged with a lot of good stuff, right? But the question is, how many times have you vocally you acknowledge the fact that your child did something right? Maybe once in a while, if you see your child coming inside your house, leaving the slipper outside, you have to celebrate. You have to celebrate. Okay, you just started to, wow, beta, such a lovely girl. I like you doing it. And you also tell others, you know what? My daughter is such a lovely girl. She never walks around wearing the slipper inside. This is what is referred to as catching them doing right. How many times you have caught your child doing something right? How many times vocally you applauded? How many times you have shown that love and affection, applauding your child and kissing and hugging your child and telling you're such a lovely girl because of this particular reason? These are the kind of memories what you have to give it to your child. You go on labeling them, you're doing that, you're doing this, I'm not happy about this. Of course, you have to once in a while make a correction and let them know what they're doing is not good. But the number of times you catch them doing right should be more than the number of times you're catching them doing wrong. That is the statistics. You know what are the statistics? The statistics is 1:5. If you're going to hurt your child once in a day, you have to compensate that by catching them doing right 5 times. Am I making sense here? Is it a bulb on moment? Please type BO in the chat box. I want some participation. Okay. So what you'll do tonight is, after the session gets over, make a chart, start ticking it each time the child is getting upset or you're causing that, upsetting the child, and you just make the statistics. Maybe by tomorrow, the same time, you just count the number of times you have created the negative feeling in your child's mind. Your agenda is to compensate that by 5 times. If there are about 4 times you hurt your child, with any of your negative commands or whatever it is your responsibility to compensate that by 5 times, which means 20 times you need to praise your child. And don't tell me that I don't have a reason why I need to praise my child. My child is always doing something very bad. Then that means that I already put in so much of negative feeling in your child's mind. The child will start telling himself or herself, I'm going to be like this. Just imagine your spouse every day looking at your face and telling you that you are bad, you are bad, you are bad. Is there any way that you're going to improve your behavior? You're going to become worse, right? Okay. Supposing, you prepare food. That's what I mean. I've tried it out with my wife. When the food is not good, instead of saying the food is not good, I'll rather keep my mouth shut, or maybe I'll come up with some kind of a price. I'll make sure that I'll communicate to her, maybe the food is not very good, but still, I will use those words very carefully that she's not hurt. Because there is nothing I'm going to gain by telling that you messed up the entire food. Okay? Please remember, please make sure that this ratio has to be maintained at 1:5. That should be your agenda. Okay? So how many of you are going to commit? Today, tomorrow, I want to see, okay? Your counts. Actually, I want to see the number of counts, like how exactly you people are standing as in today. And then after this boot camp gets over, please continue it. And your intention, your focus should be to bring it down to 1:5. Okay. And please remember, we keep repeating this in our boot camps, like parenting is not a 5-day journey. It is a lifetime commitment. Of course, you people are here because of the boot camp. You have paid 500 rupees. You come inside. 5 days, we're going to be interacting. We have many things to offer you. We have more than almost 75 topics on which we can give you training on parenting. Okay. It depends on how you people want to proceed further. Okay. So suddenly, but corner of your mind, please stay with the focus that it's a lifetime learning what you're going to be giving it to your child. Okay. Okay. Let me go on to the next slide. And I want to share with you an interesting story itself. Why this positivity and what all can happen if you're going to be coming up with only the negativity in your life. So I want to share a story with you. How many of you have heard of this Solomon Island? How many of you have heard of this place called Solomon Island? Please type yes or no in the chat box. How many of you are aware of the phrase that curse of yelling and felling? Anybody? No, right? Okay. Let me change my question. How many of you have seen the movie Tare Zameen Par? How many have seen the movie Tare Zameen Par? I'll be getting I hope to get a lot of yeses now, right? When it comes to a movie that we will be able to relate to it. Remember in that movie, Amir Khan is talking to that boy's father, Ishan's father. Ishan, I forgot the name. So he's narrating a story about a Solomon Island. You know what? There is a place called Solomon Island, somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, okay? Somewhere near Australian coast it is. That place is known for two reasons. One is the entire, it's a very small island. It is devoid of any kind of development or any kind of technology. And it is still inhabited by a lot of tribal community. But that place is known for beautiful trees, okay? I don't know what is the reason, maybe the oil content or the grains which comes in the tree. I mean, that place is known for the trees which has been there for hundreds of years, okay? Every business opportunity with anything to do with wooden handicrafts and all, no, they have some kind of a connection with those, that island. And that place is still inhabited by a lot of tribal community, and they don't have much technology. When they have to fell a tree, when they have to cut a tree, they do it manually. They have the same old axe and all that, and they're used to doing it. And normally it takes them a very long time, maybe around a week or so, to fell a fully grown tree, which has been there for the last around 50 years or 100 years. You know what? Because of this, they follow a ritual. They follow a ritual according to which the entire community people, no, they gather around the tree. Okay, maybe 30 or 40 of them, they just gather around the tree at the end of the day, and they start throwing abuses to the tree. You're such a bad creature in this world. I don't know why you're still existing. You don't have a fruit. You don't have a leaf. You don't give out oxygen. You're good for nothing. You're a big burden for this Mother Earth. Why don't you die? I mean, whatever the nonsense kind of abuses comes to their mind, they start throwing those abuses to the tree. They believe if we start doing it, maybe for continuously for about an hour or so, ultimately the tree is going to get emotionally hurt and is going to give up and it will die. And after that, we'll start cutting it. I don't know what are the scientific evidence. I mean, I don't know whether it is, don't go into the, whether it is a factor, but it's a fact. It is happening, and their belief also is being proved. And many scientists, based on these findings, have done a lot of research, and they proved it beyond doubts that even trees do have emotions. Whether the tree dies because of the abuses, that I don't know. Okay, but they proved it. Even the trees, they do have emotions. How many of you are aware of it? Go to Google, do your research. You'll be able to find out many experiments which have been done, which shows that even trees do have emotions. Even water molecules also have emotions. Recently, one of the Japanese scientists has proved it, and that is also patented, I think. And he has proved with an experiment that when a water body is exposed to a lot of negative stuff, the geometrical formation of these water molecules, they undergo a tremendous change, indicating that something is happening inside the water body. Reason why I'm sharing these two examples with you people is, just think, it's not a rocket science for all of us to go and find out whether the trees do have emotions or water body has emotions, but people in this world are thinking of proving it scientifically that these are the facts. When that is a scenario, I don't think it is a rocket science for you and me to think that what happens to a small little one. It's a very small little one, right? When the child is going through these kind of negative stuffs and abuses, imagine what kind of damage might happen. That logic is good enough for you. Okay, you don't have to go behind the scientific facts. Okay, I give you this example only to make you all feel that how effective, wrongly it will be affecting your child's subconscious mind, because the child is going through. Some people still ask me, I want to hit my child. Is it allowed? Okay. What is EO? It is BO or EO. BO is bulb on moment. I don't know what is EO stands for. BO is bulb on. Okay. Madhurima, did you mean BO? Okay, great. Okay. So you have to make sure that you are creating that kind of a positive, because what happens, many of you might be having a complaint. I think it's a better example now. How many of you are staying in a joint family? You'll be able to relate to this, no? I have many parents complaining that I have understood the importance of this positive behavior. I know the importance of being positive with the child, But with a lot of difficulty, I've also convinced my spouse. Initially, my spouse was different. Now, because I've consciously I've been telling him, I'm attending his sessions and I'm going through these kind of sessions. He also has come to terms with being a very positive person in front of no fighting and all that. If in case if you want to fight, you just go to the your bedroom, close the door, and do what you want. But in front of the child, you are all goody goody. It's not that you're not arguing with each other. Arguing is good. Having disagreement is good. Even getting angry also is good. Getting anger also is a positive emotion. But what you do with the anger after you get angry is where you have to control yourself. That is where you have to draw the line. Okay, because your child is consciously watching you, because you are the biggest role model for your child. Okay, so make sure that there is not much of negativity which is thrown at the child because of this reason. Okay, I'm sure even like telling them some bad things or bad girl, catching them with some negative behavior, that itself is bad according to the child psychology. Correction is different. If you want, you can always correct your child, but don't make it a habit that you go on telling your child, don't do that, don't do this. Rephrase your vocabulary, rephrase your sentences. Like they say, even using a negative word like don't do this, don't do that, that also is a negative communication. Let me prove it to you as well now. Because whenever you're using this kind of a sentence, which is framed with no, don't do that, your mind will not be able to digest that. Because your mind is not designed, your brain is not designed to understand the negative command. Let me prove it to you with an example. I just want to play a small role play here. Okay, so what I'll do is I want to take you through a little bit of your memory lane. Okay, so I just want to make you people all a little bit romantic. I want to take you a couple of years back. I want all of you to close your eyes at the count of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Please close your eyes. I'm going to give you some auto commands. Just keep listening to my whatever I'm telling you, whatever commands I'm giving you, and try to imagine it is happening in front of your eyes. Are you all ready for it? Please close your eyes at the end of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm starting it now. 1, 2, 3, 4. I hope all of you have closed your eyes. Don't open it, for God's sake. 5. Okay. Just imagine that you and your spouse are sitting in a beautiful beach, or maybe in top of a hillock. Just try to imagine that there is a beautiful sunset happening in front of your eyes. Try to imagine there is a beautiful, cool breeze coming out of the hill or out of the sea. Try to imagine that you're holding on to your spouse in one hand, and the other hand, you're probably sipping your favorite drink, maybe a tender coconut. Try to imagine every possible thing which is bringing you good memories. Only you and your spouse, nobody else around. Now, don't think of that monkey which is dancing right behind you. There is a monkey which is dancing right behind you. Don't imagine that. Yeah, I finished it now. I want all of you to open your eyes. What is that one dominant thing which is lingering in your mind? Can any one of you type your comment on the chat box? You saw the monkey. Everybody is thinking of only monkey. Yeah. 3, 4 of you, 5, 6. What happened? I told you to imagine a lot of beautiful things. The only thing which I told you not to imagine is monkey. But unfortunately, that monkey is still dancing in your mind. And that is exactly what I told you not to do, right? Yeah, Prince is saying breeze, but monkey came before that. All of you came up with the monkey answer, and now probably you're changing it. What I'm trying to tell you is, our brain is not designed to take the negative commands. Whenever we say, don't do this, that is because whenever you're saying things like probably don't do, okay? Like it could be anything, for example. That's called as power of spoken words. My mentor always used to tell me, whatever you want in your life, maybe you don't have it now. In case if you feel that you want to have those things in your life, always keep speaking about it. Always speak of those things which you might not have in your life, but which you want to have. That is called as power of spoken words. Because our brain is not in a position to understand the concept of negative command. When I said, don't imagine a dancing monkey, the first thing what your brain has to do is, it has to bring into its picture the monkey which is not available there and tell it again that don't think of it. Your small little child is coming from the kitchen with probably a glass of water, glass of milk. And immediately we get panicky and we say, don't spill the milk, don't spill the milk. Nothing has happened, boss. The child is still carrying the milk glass, balancing it, and is walking to the hall. But we are already got panicky and we are shouting and screaming, don't spill the milk. What happens? Your child's small little brain has to imagine the hand starts trembling. Probably the glass is falling on the ground, splash into pieces, and all the milk is flowing on the floor. The child has to imagine all these things and then finally tell the brain that don't spill the milk. It's not possible. It's not practical. It's not reality. Instead, you can just tell your child what you want your child to do. As simple as that. Am I making sense here? Can I have some comment on the chat box? So, the second activity, what I'm going to give you now is negative words versus positive words. We keep short. Don't run around on the sofa. Don't speak with a loud voice. Don't fall out of the tree. Don't worry about tomorrow's exam. I'll give another example on this context. I forgot to mention that. A family, family had they'd gone for a picnic, and the kids started playing around, and they've identified a beautiful tree, which they thought that they're going to climb it very easily. And all the parents and everyone were encouraging, and two kids, they started climbing on the tree. Come on, beta, you can do it, you can do it. Everybody started encouraging, and they climbed about 6 or 7 feet, and they went comfortably on a branch. Suddenly what happened, there was a very strong wind which started flowing, and it was making the tree a little bit shaky. And both the children started screaming, and because they knew that they're losing balance and they're going to fall down anytime. And both the mothers of those two children who were sitting there and chatting and enjoying the entire the action, they also got panicky and they also started shouting and screaming. One of the mothers, she stood up and she started shouting at the child, saying that, please don't fall down, please don't fall down, be careful, be careful. Another mother who was who also was panicky, but used a different sentence. She said, you know what she said? She said, hold on to the branch very tightly. If you do that, the tree will be shaking. You'll be enjoying your stay also. It will be like an oscillation. Just hold on to the branch very tightly. It's a simple communication. What one mother gave, the other mother gave a communication, don't fall down. You know what happened? The child whose mother gave a command, don't fall down, actually fell down. Child whose mother gave a command, hold on to the tree very tightly. It went on holding on to the tree very tightly, and it continued to stay on top of the tree, enjoying the stay on the tree. What does this indicate? Because this is what is called as power of spoken words. Whatever you want your child to be doing, only speak about that. But most of us, the mistake what we do is we do exactly the opposite of it. Don't run by the pool. Don't run on the sofa. Don't fall out of the tree. Don't drive carelessly. Don't spill that milk. Don't worry about tomorrow's exam. We also keep telling our daughter, I used to tell that, no? Don't worry about tomorrow's exam. Take it away. What I'm supposed to tell her is stay calm and relaxed about tomorrow's exam. Instead of that, I'm trying to put in that fear in her mind by telling her that don't worry about tomorrow's exam. Instead of that, you replace these negative sentences with positive frame of sentences. Be careful while, instead of saying that don't spill the milk, you can always tell, be careful when you're holding the milk glass. Does it make sense? Instead of saying that don't run around the pool, you can always tell, be careful while you're running besides the pool. Instead of saying that don't fall out of the tree, you can always tell, hold on to the tree very tightly. Instead of telling, don't worry about tomorrow's exam, you can always tell them, stay calm and relaxed about tomorrow's exam. Am I making it sensible here? Can I have some comment on the chat box? Is this a bulb on moment? Please type bulb on in the chat box. So what I want to do now is I'm going to give you another activity. Okay. I want somebody to make a list of all the activities I'm giving. It is spontaneously, it is coming out. Though we don't have any agenda, all these activities are going to be making a huge difference. The first activity is making a chart and writing down all the number of times you're making them hurt and number of times you're feeling them good, catching them doing right. And the second one is after the session gets over, make a list of all the negative phrases what normally you're using with your child and try to replace them with the positive affirmative sentences. Can we have a consistency on this? Can I have some commitments? Like, yes, we're going to make it because you need to put it on action. The theory will not going to help you. Practically tonight, after the session gets over, sit with your spouse and make a list of all the negative phrases and try to convert. You don't have to be very good in grammar. You don't have to be good in English, whatever the language you people are good in. Some other was telling that probably I don't understand English. Why don't you? Because I know Hindi, but with the interest of all the participants from different part of the world, we stick on to English. Okay. I love my country's languages. I'm from Bangalore. I love to speak in Kannada, but I mean, this is a global platform. So the ideally speaking, it's better that we communicate in English. But for doing these activities, you don't have to be an expert or like Shakespeare. Okay. The idea is very simple. Make a list of all the negative commands, whatever you're giving it to your child, and try to replace them with a positive affirmative sentences. Now, are you people able to relate this to the sleep learn technique? The reason why we have given you the activities for sleep learn technique is covering these two concepts, whatever I give you now. Ultimately, by default, you would have come up with a lot of negative commands to your child. At least before the child goes to the bed, when you're attempting the sleep talk, you're oozing out with a lot of positive energy for your child through your vocabulary. My dear child, Papa loves you so much, Mama loves you so much. You're such a darling of this family. Okay. And you come up with all the positive things and then finally you add, okay. I know you are hurting others by hitting, okay? I mean, you're not saying that don't hit others in your sleep learn technique. You always convert that negative phrase into a positive affirmative sentence. Whatever you want your child to be doing, speak only about that, not about what you don't want your child to do. Is it making sense now? Please type MS in the chat box. Yes. You've been practicing Princey, the SLT, but I'm giving you the concept. I'm giving you the concept and making it more strong. Remember the first day I told you, I want all of you to be a why parent. I don't want you people to be a how parent. I don't want you people to keep asking questions like, how do I do this? How do I do it? Before you ask a question, how do I do this? You ask a question, why should I do it? So the reason why I'm giving you that concept in today's session, before starting today's session, is only because I want you to come up with a strong emotional reason why you'll be doing all this. Otherwise, it's very easy. I can always tell you that go ahead and do this catching them doing right concept, or maybe convert all your negative phrases. I took some time to explain to you the logic behind why you have to be focusing more on the positivity. And now I know you people have taken a decision that you're going to implement. Okay, so on that note, let me move to the next one. Okay, negativity can't be diluted. I already told you about this. Power of spoken words, I've covered this as well. And yeah, these are all the things. What, for example, I've given. Instead of saying no running around, you can always tell walk. Okay, it's very simple, no? Don't run. Instead of saying that, you say just walk. No throwing. Instead of saying no throwing, you can always tell them put it on the floor gently. Am I making it sensible here? Make a list. I want to see these two activities in tomorrow's WhatsApp group. Okay. So when all of you, at least about 10-15 people of you sharing your activities, that might be a complete learning process for the rest of the gang as well. Okay. And the other thing, what I want to come down to at the end of it is labeling your child. Now I'll be introducing you to vision charts. Why we have created the vision charts. There is a concept called as labeling our children. How many of us are used to this? We keep comparing our children to XYZ in our family. My daughter is exactly like my sister. We've done it right. I mean, initially I used to do that. I love my sister. I'm trying to think that my daughter is also like my sister. Okay. And I used to tell her, you know what? You are exactly like my sister. I used to do that. And before I was introduced to this kind of parenting concepts. Now, if I think back and see, I was really doing the wrong thing when my daughter was small. You know what? I'll give you my own example. When I was a small child, my grandparent, I think my grandmom probably, always she used to compare me with one of my maternal uncle. You know what? She used to tell everyone, including me, that this boy, he's exactly like his maternal uncle. And she also gave me a reasoning. The reason why she's comparing is because I don't listen to anyone, I believe. She believes. This guy doesn't listen to anybody. Whatever comes in his mind, he'll do only that. No point in talking to him. And she used to compare this particular quality of mine to my maternal uncle. You know what has happened now? Invariably, I've turned out to be a person like that. I don't listen to anybody. I'll do whatever comes to my mind. I'm a character like that now. I'm not proud of that character. But example, what I'm giving you is, I don't know whether by birth I was a character like this or not, but I'm sure that only because somebody was labeling me, I've almost taken off that character from XYZ and I become a person like that. I was lucky enough to probably get introduced to these kind of things, this kind of parenting knowledge, and I stopped emulating my uncle, because my uncle, he's got a lot of positive stuff, but he also has a lot of negative impacts. All of us, we do have, right? It's not that we are all perfect. So when you compare a person, when you say that you are like XYZ, you are labeling your child. And labeling is probably it is the biggest mistake what we all do in our parenting journey. Never ever label your child. Now, probably if few of you are confused, you are saying that don't label your child, then what nonsense is this? Creating these vision charts and all that. But there is a small twist here. If you notice this vision charts very carefully, what you're doing is you're not labeling your child to XYZ person. Rather, you are labeling them for a good value system. Like, for example, when I'm writing it down, because all of us, we do have a lot of negative characters, right? And probably an example what I can give you is my wife had created a chart for my daughter saying that you're as confident as your upper. I think probably she should have shown you that in yesterday's session as well. Supposing my wife had told my daughter that you are like your upper, what happens? My daughter would have emulated me in every aspect of her life, right? I too have a lot of negative shades. Probably my wife also doesn't know, but my daughter will be able to identify those negative shades of mine because she's a smarter kid. Kids are very observative. I don't want that to happen. When you talk about confidence, yes, I know that I'm very confident, and that is one of my positive traits. And I don't mind my daughter catching that character and emulating it. But for children, it won't happen. When you label them, no, they'll try to take every character of them and become a person on whole. And moreover, please remember, you are a role model for your child till they're about 10 or 12 years of age. Because they're always looking up to you. Whatever your children's behavior is, exactly the replica of either you or your spouse. Because you are the biggest role model for your child. If you continue to be a role model to them after they become 12 years, you've done a wonderful job. In most of the cases, it will not be the scenario, because they get exposed to the outside world, they start going to the school, they start interacting with so many other characters, and their role model will be totally different. So when you're introducing the concept of role modeling, the negative impact is that we don't have any control, right? Till our children become maybe 12 years or 13 years, probably we can manage whom our children are role modeling. But after that, we don't have any control. Their world is much bigger, right? What happens? They get influenced by so many XYZ. They go to school and they'll get influenced by XYZ. They go to college, they get influenced by XYZ. We don't have any control. So role modeling and labeling your child are two things which you have to avoid it for a betterment of your child's future. How do you do it? From the day one, you start introducing this concept of vision charts. What are you doing in the vision charts? You're only giving the value system and you're not highlighting any individual for that matter. When I tell my daughter, my dear Aditri, you have the musical intelligence of A.R. Rahman. I don't know a thing about A.R. Rahman's personal life. I don't know what kind of a husband he is. I don't know what kind of a son he is. I don't know what kind of an individual he is. Probably everything might be fine as of today, but maybe there is a media outrage tomorrow or sometime later, everybody talking negative about A.R. Rahman, and my daughter is going to get confused. What happened? All these years I've been emulating A.R. Rahman. Now I heard that this guy is not good. So to avoid that kind of a scenario, what I'm doing in a vision chart is I'm just clearly mentioning, my dear Aditri, you have musical intelligence of A.R. Rahman. Nothing else, only the musical intelligence. My dear Amartya, you have the vision of Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. You have the knowledge of Swami Vivekananda, or whatever it is. I'm comparing it only to the value system. So that I'm bulletproofing my children in future. They will not get influenced by any XYZ character, but I'm creating a value system in my children wherein every positive thing in every person they're going to be observing. Even when I'm narrating a story, if there is a demon, there is a hero, I will not talk about anything about negative shades of a demon or maybe a villain. I'll talk more about positive characters of the hero. Even in the villain also, I'll be highlighting few qualities which are positive in nature. I don't talk about negative stuff. Is this a bulb on moment? I want to see some comment on the chat box. Right? So that is the reason why we are making this a habit for the day one. Okay. So it's not that vision charts, you're going to create 1 or 2 charts and keep it in your wall. For the next 1 month, you'll be creating at least about 20 to 30 charts and keep doing it. Even today in my house, we've been parenting for the last 16 years. We talk to our children only through these charts. By default, there are at least about 5 to 6 charts whenever you come to our house, you'll be able to see about 5 to 6 charts for all of us, not only for our children, even for us. But none of those charts are focusing on the personalities. It is only for the characters, rather. It is only for the value system. And we are so proud of my daughter. My daughter is around 17 years. And I can guarantee tell you that she's not going to get influenced by any human being in this world. She's got a mind of her own. She takes a decision on her own. She will not get into this kind of love affair and those age-relevant hormonal changes. No, that is not going to impact her at all. Because from the day one, we've been bulletproofing her. And we have got it to an extent wherein she's not going to get influenced by XYZ. I hope you people understood this concept, and that's the reason why these vision charts and this sleep learn technique play a major role in your foundation for your children. Make sure this is not a part of only this 5-day journey. Okay, you're going to be, even after 10 years down the line, you'll be having some topic on which you'll be working on your sleep learn technique with your child, and you'll be having few characters on which the value systems, what you'll be working on your child in terms of vision charts. And the sleep talk is so powerful, no? I mean, it is age relevant. That's the reason we tell it is not only for XYZ age group children. It is starting from 0 years till 80 years. Okay, one newly born baby till 80 years, you can do the sleep talk. It works for every human being. It will work for your spouse also. In case if you have any issues with your spouse, you can make use of this SLT to take those negative characters away. But my only the precaution you need to take is your spouse is asleep. Okay, if your spouse is still awake and you're going on ranting all this sleep talk, and he or she will get, I mean, they'll get a hang of it. My wife or my son and my husband is trying to do something with me. Okay. Anyway, on that note, let me move into today's topic. Okay. I hope this is exactly what I want to take. Maybe I've taken 1 hour. I normally take around 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Maybe today I got a little excited and I continued. I mean, I stretched it a little bit. I hope this insights were useful, and it will come a long way in your creating foundation for your child's future. Okay, so welcome all of you to day 4. Now I'm starting today's topic and exploring the available resources and the possibilities of early brain stimulation with use it or lose it concept. I can guarantee you this topic, today's topic and tomorrow's topic, can be it will be a game changer. Your entire perception of parenting and what you need to do in early child development, early child development is not going to be any more like a big thing for you. You will know everything, whatever you need to do. Okay. On that note, can I have a comment from all of you? RTL. RTL means ready to learn. Please post a comment, RTL. Then we'll get started with today's session. The world's most powerful supercomputer is human brain. Okay. No doubt about it. We all accept with that. Because every child is born genius, irrespective of your background, irrespective of what you and your spouse are. Every child is born genius because they're blessed with 100 million brain cells. In Indian context, it is referred to as 10,000 crores because we Indians, we don't get the hang of billion and million. So it's better we convert them to crores and lakhs. It is 10,000 crores of brain cells what every newborn baby is born with. That is what is a God's gift. But it is not the number of brain cells we all have. The brain cells are called as neurons. I'm sure that all of you are taking notes. Okay. It is not the number of brain cells what we all have. It is a number of connections you make between those brain cells. This connection, the process of connecting one brain cell to another brain cell is called as synapses in medical terms. That is what is going to determine how useful your brain becomes. That's how intelligent we all become. When I say intelligent, it's not only about the knowledge. There are various layers of intelligence that is covered under multiple intelligence. That's one of the topics what we have. Okay, but I'll not be covering that in this 5-day bootcamp. So, in a nutshell, it is not the number of brain cells we have. It is number of connections you make between those brain cells that determine how useful your brain becomes, or that's how intelligent we all are. So, I'll give you, today I'll be giving you two powerful concepts in early brain development. One is about this neural connections, how it happens. Before that, I just want to share my insights on this. In a nutshell, what all this means to us, what all this should mean to us rather. How many of you remember, like when I was a small child, when you were small children, most of you will be able to relate to me. The minimum age criteria for starting our academics was only about 5 or 6 years. Anybody can relate to this? I'm 80s child, of course. I'm early 80s. The minimum age limit was 5 years to get started with our education. With the onset of this Montessori concept and all that, slowly it got changed to around 3.5 to 4 years with LKG, UKG and all that. Montessori concept is almost about 100 years old. But in India, it has become popular only for the last around maybe 25, 30 years. Nowadays, it has come down even to like 2 years or even like 1.8. Nursery, KG, preschool, prep and all that, right? Forget about that stage. We have come beyond that. We have come to an era wherein people are talking about activity centers. How many of you have heard of these activity centers? There are many of activity centers in Bangalore which I know of. Parents, mothers, they take their children, even if it is 8 months or 10 months or 1 year old, they're going to stay outside. They're going to give the child. They take the children inside. They do some activities for the children and they'll give you the child back. How many of you have heard of these kind of activity centers? And mom is waiting outside, maybe reading some, because she's scared. She doesn't want to leave the child behind. So she's waiting there for 1 hour and bringing the child back. There are a lot of activity centers. In Bangalore, at least we know about 25 to 30 centers. You go to any mall, there are activity centers, right? What you need to look at this is, why do you think there is so much of hangama, there is so much of halla gulla happening about this particular space, early child development? All of us, we are in our toes. We know something has to be done. Something has to be done. That is because of information era. That's what is done. That's what it is done to all of us. We know something has to be done, but we don't know why we are doing it. The concept is very simple. Whether your child goes to the school or LKG, UKG or pre-nursery or activity centers, or the best option is you doing something at home, because the child stays at home for 24/7. Even if it is activity centers, maybe it is for 1 hour or 2 hours. Max school is maximum 3 or 4 hours. The concept I want all of you to understand why there is so much of hype about all these things. The reason why so many people are attending these kind of parenting workshops. When I was a new parent, there's absolutely no parenting workshops because we all know something has to be done, right? And that is exactly what is this neural connection coming to. The reason we all know is some kind of a neural connection, the exposure has to happen to the child. And earlier you do it, the more benefit the child gets. That is the basis on which I want to take this neural connections and synapses. Okay. So this is exactly how a neuron looks. This is like one brain cell. Okay. This is like pictorial representation of a brain cell is exactly like this. I want to compare this to an electrical pole only to make this concept more digestible. It should be easy for you to understand the concept. The reason why I compare a neuron to an electrical pole is because supposing if there is a small town somewhere anywhere, whichever corner of India you take, and supposing if that small town or a village doesn't have electricity, and if the government decides that it's going to bring in electricity to that small village, what is the first thing that you're going to do? Start erecting these electrical poles, right? Depending on the demographic, the size of this village, the number of electrical poles also will vary. But just by erecting the electrical poles, will you be able to give current? Will you be able to bring in electricity? Doesn't make sense. Ultimately, each and every electrical pole, what you have erected, they need to be connected with the wiring. That circuit has to get completed, only after which the electricity will pass. That is exactly what happens to your child's brain also. Initially, when the child is born, they're born with 10,000 crores of brain cells which are not connected to one another. And according to the research and the statistics, out of these 10,000 crores of brain cells, about 25% of the brain cells will happen when the womb itself. That's the reason why first day I was referring to this in the womb and Garbha Samskar and all that. Okay, why that Garbha Samskar or in the womb was so impactful on your child's future? Because you will start working on with some activities wherein you'll be creating those connections when the child is in the womb. By default, it is happening. Even if you don't do anything, also the neural connections are happening. But if you're consciously making it, there is a possibility of increasing it. That's the reason why in the womb, they say you have to be reading a lot of stories, you have to be singing, you have to be hearing a lot of music, good music. Always you have to be keeping, mother has to keep her mind totally balanced. All that is because that is invariably affecting the child's brain also. It's a scientific fact. You can go to Google and do the research. If you go to Discovery Channel, there is a separate program, documentary called In the Womb. Our program's name also was In the Womb when we were doing this In the Womb concept to the parents. So ultimately, all these brain cells are there, which are not connected to each other. Maybe about 20% of these brain cells will get connected to each other in the womb itself, because like those the functioning of the heart or maybe some organs, all those brain connections will happen in the womb itself. And the moment the child is born, the child will get connected to the mother only through smell or touch. I think I told you about this in the first day. How many of you remember this? The mother gets connected, the child gets connected to the mother only through touch or probably smell, not by sight, because those brain cells which are responsible for this eyesight, vision and all that are yet to develop. First, for the first about 6 to 7 days, the vision is almost like blank. The vision is yet to develop. The 6th or the 7th day, the vision will start improving, and those optic nerves, they get connected to one another, whatever the scientific that connection has to happen, that will start functioning. And then in the first 90 days, it is only black and white vision. Most of us probably are not aware of this particular science, and we would have not done anything for our child in terms of exposing them to black and white cards. So what happened, just because you are into some program and you get to know about this secret and you start implementing something like this, your child is exposed to black and white cards, that is an additional advantage what your child is going to be getting. So between the newborn baby and the first 18 months, that is the first 1.5 years, about 50% of the brain development will already happen. 50% of the brain cells will eventually get connected to one another. By default, that will go on happening. And between 18 months to probably 6 years, 90% of the brain development also will get finished. That is the statistics. Okay. And this is exactly what is the synapse. Like every time we keep using this word, no, bulb on moment. That bulb on moment is nothing but try to relate to that with your child's perspective. Whenever there is a new thing happening for the child in his life, there are many neural connections which are happening inside. The first time the child sees father's face, there are probably 1 lakh brain connection which will happen inside the child's brain. There are millions and millions of connections. The first time the child listens to a particular noise or a sound or a voice, probably there are about thousands and lakhs of connections which are happening. The first time the child is experiencing some new taste, there are lakhs of brain connections which are happening. They all happen by default. Your duty and my duty as a parent, the responsibility for us is to how strongly we are making these neural connections, how much of experience we are giving it to the child. It is not about teaching, it is a question of giving the experience. Okay. That is exactly because what happens after the age of 6 years, whatever the brain connections which are not strongly being created, they will start getting deleted one by one. This is called as pruning effect. This is called as synaptic density with the pruning effect. Am I going a little fast? I want to see some comment. Am I making sense here? Have you all understood the concept? So the first 0 to 6 years are so important. So whatever the kind of experiences we are giving, that will only help in creating those neural connections. And that is the foundation on which you can probably determine how intelligent you and me all are. Okay, not in terms of the knowledge, in terms of knowing the worldly things in every aspect. Because after they become 6 years, this pruning will start kicking in. By default, it's going to happen. Whether you consciously make those efforts to make these neural connections or you don't make. Suppose if you have not come to this particular program also, the neural connections would have happened. But just because you come to this program and you know this particular concept, if you start consciously creating those neural connections with giving experience to the child, you are fulfilling your responsibility. Okay, because according to the scientific facts, by the time the child is about 8 months, the brain has about 1,000 trillion nerve connections. And by the time the child is 10 years, this will almost reduce it to half because the rest of the things will get deleted by default. Okay, what happens? The brain will start, because the brain is the fastest growing organ in the human body. During the first 6 years itself, the brain is grown almost to the 90% of its capacity. But what happens to a physical growth? The physical growth is still yet to start, right? We keep growing till we become 18 or 19 years in terms of size, right? But the brain is already grown 90% by the time the child is around 6 years. So what happens? The brain at that point of time, 6 years, it is trying to analyze. I have so much of content. I have grown so much. This person, this individual is only about so small. Most of the things it might not require. So whatever the excess what I'm carrying, it is better that I start shedding it down. That is when the brain starts thinking in those terms, that is when the pruning effect will start kicking. And the moment that pruning will start, rapidly it's going to be getting deleted one by one. And ultimately, it comes down to a very small number. I'll give another example here. How many of you can have heard of these kind of phrases? Like Einstein is the only person who has used about 5% of the total brain capacity. Anyone around here who can relate to this? Have you heard of this? Einstein is the only person who has used probably about 5% of the total brain capacity. And they claim that Abdul Kalam probably is the only person who has used about 1% of the brain capacity. In this ratio, you and me probably will be carrying some 0.005% of total brain capacity. I don't know how they've done that calculation, but generally the statement is the maximum neural connection happens during the age of 0 to 6 years. That is a scientifically proven data what we have. I'll give an example. Supposing if you people are carrying a strong genes in your family, whatever you want to take it as. For example, let's say music. Supposing if your family carries a strong genes in music, what do you think is a possibility that your child also will become a great musician when the child grows up? Any idea? Can you give me some percentage? Supposing if music is there in your family tree, what is the percentage of possibility that your child also will become a great musician in the future? Any percentage you think? Madhurima is saying 50%. Anybody else? Shweta is saying 50%. You know what? I have a disappointing news for you. The actual reality is only 20%. Because whatever happens to us, only 20% of that is because of the genes. Remaining 80% is because of what we undergo between that 0 to 6 years or those early years of our childhood. It is a good news as well as a bad news, because when I'm referring to a music concept, maybe we feel that it's only 20%, I've lost everything. Simultaneously, we also carry a lot of negative genes also, right, which we're not very proud of. Good news is that whatever you have, 20% is only through the genes and the 80% can be developed. Supposing in this scenario, let's assume that you're carrying a strong musical genes, okay? And by default, maybe you and your spouse will decide that you're not going to expose your child to the world of music at all. Your child is totally deprived of the music in the first 2 or 3 years. What happens to your brain? Your brain starts telling itself, making an analysis, "Arey, what happened? I'm carrying this file of music files with me, which is given to me by default. When these people bought the computer only, it was already installed. The music files were already installed, which has come with the package. From factory output, this is how I have come. But these people are not exposing this child to the music at all. So what do I do with these music files? Let me delete it. Maybe it is not required for this child." When that happens, the brain is going to permanently delete all these music files, and the 20% advantage what you had, that also is gone wasted. This is what is referred to as use it or lose it. You have the greatest opportunity when the child is very small. As they grow up, you almost lost that opportunity. That is the scenario with the most of the parents. They don't do much when the child is young. When the child is, let's say, 10 years, 12 years, they come up to us with a lot of list of questions like, my child is like that, my child is like this, my child is not good in academics, my child is not good in concentration, memory, what do I do? My child's behavior is XYZ, emotionally the child is weak, not able to socialize. It is very difficult to repair a child. It is very easy to mold a child. Exactly, Stella, that's what we are referring to. Neuroplasticity is at a great work when the child is very small. When the brain starts telling itself that let me get rid of this excess stuff, whatever I have, that is what is referred to as the pruning effect. And your child will be devoid of many things by default it would have gained because of maybe the genes or whatever. The regular exposure is already happening, but your job is to make sure that those connections happens very strongly. They've also done an experiment. I want you to people go to Google and do your research. I think the scientists have conducted an experiment on the cat. Okay, you know what they do? They blindfold the cat, and after the kitten is born, they blindfold the kitten, and after 21 days, they remove the blindfold. You know what? An astonishing thing which has happened, the kitten is gone blind. There is absolutely nothing wrong with the eyesight or the eyes. Everything is intact. But the brain cells, which are responsible for creating a connection between the eyes and the brain, those brain cells are dead or not developed at all. The end result is the kitten is gone blind. Please go to Google and do a research. You'll get this experiment details as well. So the concept is very simple. Use it or lose it. If you don't make use of it now, it's almost like it's gone. Don't come back to us when the child is around 12 or 13 years saying that I have so many XYZ problems, because nobody in the world might be able to help you out. You have to probably take your child to your child psychologist. That's maybe only alternative what we have. You lost out on opportunities what you had. Pruning effect will not only start at the age of 2 years, it will start from the day one. The pruning and the neural connections activity will start from the day one. It is going hand in hand. But maximum pruning effect will happen between the age of 6 to 10 years. After 10 years, there is not much of pruning happening. Okay, and that's what it remains you and me. Okay, so whatever is you and me are already like we are making the maximum use of our. Thank God, I'd forgotten to on my battery. You're getting my point, Viper? It is not only 2 years, it is a myth. It starts from the day one. Okay, but it will be at its maximum speed between the age of 6 to 10 years. That's the reason why the 0 to 6 years are so important. That is a molding period. However you want to mold your child, you'll be able to mold your child. Suppose if your child is already crossed 6 years, then you'll be in the second stage of parenting, which is referred to as repairing stage. Between 6 to 10 or 12 years is considered to be a repairing stage in child development. 0 to 6 years is a molding period. And after they become 12 or 15 years, you just have to manage with whatever package we have. That's it. There is not much of molding. There is not much of repairing left over. Yes, that is exactly what we're doing. It depends on how, that's what I'm coming to, Stella. From today, you have to think. It's not, there's no point in thinking that I didn't know about all these years, so now only I'm coming to know. The reason why our program says maximum 0 to 12 years, only because of this. Understand the concept. It is 0 to 6 years is a molding period and 6 to 12 years is a molding period. What we are looking at, Einstein is used about 2% or 5%, Abdul Kalam 1%. Because of the conscious effort, what you and me are going to put from tomorrow, even if you're contributing, let's say 0.5% for your child's overall neural connection, that's a great deal, done deal it is. But rather what we all do is we all keep searching, what are the activities? What are the activities? Don't go behind the activities, understand the concept, create the reason, why reason. We are putting so much of effort in this boot camp, spending so much of time is only to make you people a why parent. Remember the first day, my concept was you have to be a why parent. How you can do it is totally, somebody asked me a question, how do we do it? Don't even worry, don't even break your head for thinking, how do you do it? There are hundreds and thousands of methods. You go to Google, find out what are the activities, you'll get all the activities you start implementing. But what I'm trying to give you a concept is why you need to do it. Because once your why is strong, then how becomes very easy. Without why, how will be only like, it will be like a patching up. Am I making sense here, Stella? Please answer your comment. Okay, so the concept, so we know the concept now. It is so much of importance and maximum neural connections will happen before the child is 6 years and it goes on. But earlier, the more benefit you have. When we started about this kind of program, my daughter was already about 4.5 years. Obviously, the fact is that we lost many things which we could not implement with my daughter because she was already 4.5 years. But still, we didn't give up because we thought it's like half empty, half full. There's no point in saying that my daughter is already 4 years or 5 years. I've lost her. You still have another 1 year, or probably you have another 2 years, or probably you have just 6 months. So how do you want to make use of this 5? Yeah, 5 years. That's what I'm saying. Yes, the only way you can do is what best you're going to do for 1 year. In the next 1 year, even if you're contributing 5% improvement for your child, that's the greatest deal what your child will have. Because after she becomes 8 years, 9 years, you don't even have that possibility, right? It's almost gone. So that is how you're going to consider this. So now coming to the activities. I'll just, because there are hundreds and thousands of activities in the net, you go and get it yourself. But I want to give you one unique concept called as say undo. Only by having a conversation with your child, how you'll be able to create that neural connections. You don't have to buy a toy. You don't have to spend much time. It's not like addition what you're going to do. Whatever you're doing right now, by just changing a method a little bit, approaching the same solution with a different lens, you'll be able to get wonderful results. That is known as say undo. How many of you have heard of this? Say undo. Anything and everything you're going to do with your child, instead of simply doing it, talk about it. There should be a constant commentary happening, going behind. It's like a cricket match. Cricket match is happening, but The excitement of the match is there in listen to the commentary, right? Watching it live. If you're going to mute it and watch it, there is no fun. The excitement is always behind somebody speaking about it. That is what is called as say and do. Whatever you're doing with your child, please talk about it. Again, as a customary practice, I want to take you through three layers. First is the mindset, the next is the concept, then I'll come to the activities at the end of it. The concept is very simple. Okay. Supposing if you're speaking to your child who is just about 8 months or 9 months, how is your conversation? How is your mode of conversation with your child? It's very musical, right? It's obvious. We're all doing it. When you're speaking to a newborn baby, you have a lot of music in your conversation. Hello, Chennamunu, this is Papa here. I've come here. What do you want to do now? Shall we go for a walk? You want to see Chandamama? You want to eat something? You want me to take you for a walk? There is a lot of music in your conversation. We all do that, right? Why you are bringing this music into your conversation? It's only because, supposing if you're going to speak to your child very straight, without any kind of a voice modulation. And let us assume that there are probably about 1 lakh brain, maybe 1,000 brain connections which are happening because the child is eagerly waiting for new experience. There are about 1,000 neural connections which are happening because of your conversation. Just because of the fact that you introduced the concept of music to your conversation, there is a possibility you would probably create 1 lakh neural connections because there is an additional element of music which you're bringing into conversation. When you're singing a rhyme to your child, what do? You get totally animated, right? Twinkle, twinkle, little star. You start moving your hands and you start showing, you start dancing in front of the child. It is not a rocket science, right? I mean, what I'm telling is something what you guys are already doing, right? What I'm trying to do is I'm only trying to bring in that reason why you people are doing it. When you're singing a rhyme, you're always animated because just by bringing in the additional input of animation to your conversation, you're probably creating 10 lakh neural connections. Don't go by these numbers. Okay, numbers are only for the sake of numbers. There's nothing which is going to tell you that if you do this, there are so many brain cells. There is nothing like that. Don't go by the numbers, but you understand the concept. That's the reason all of us, by default, we speak to the children in a very musical tone. We speak to them with a lot of animation. The reason what I'm giving you behind this is neural connections, very simple. But maybe till date, we didn't know about it. So on this concept, the activity is from tomorrow, whatever you're doing with your child, speak about it to your child. It should not be just like simply doing it. You're going to be constantly talking about it. For example, if you want to take your child for a bath, how do you do it? It's not like simply carrying your child in your arms, going to the wash area, giving it a shower and bringing the child back. Maybe that is one method. The other method, which is more effective, is keep talking about it. Keep narrating it. Before half an hour of this bathing time, you tell the child, Dekho beta, Abhi, another half an hour, I'll be taking you for the bathroom. We're going to have a wonderful bath. I have some work in the kitchen. I'll go finish it and come. Please mentally be prepared that you're going to be taking bath. Don't ask me whether the child will understand this conversation. The child will understand everything. And after you come back, you hold on to the child, then tell your child that, Dekho, Abhi, what we are doing now, I'm taking off your shirt. I'm taking off your first button. I'm taking off your second button. I'm taking off your third button. I'm removing your shirt. I'm taking off your nappy. I'm carrying you in my arms. Now I'm walking towards my bathroom. Then you start counting steps. 1, 2, 3, 4. You start, there is a rhythm which is included in your walking as well. Then finally you reach the bathroom. Then you show everything available there to your child. Point it and tell your child, Dekho beta, this is a cold, I have 3 tumblers here. One is full of cold water, the other one is full of warm water, the other one is full of hot water. Now I'm making you lay down on my lap. I'm pouring a little bit of cold water. I know you're feeling really chill. It's a very uncomfortable feeling. Now I'm pouring a little bit of warm water. You're feeling very comfortable. Now I'm pouring a little bit of hot water. It's very cozy out here. Now I'm taking out the shampoo. I'm putting the shampoo to your head. Now I'm taking the soap or the body lotion. I'm putting it to your body. Again, I'm pouring cold water. Again, I'm pouring warm water. You speak about everything, whatever you're doing. At the end of it, now I'm taking a towel. I'm drying you. I'm wrapping you in my towel. And again, I'm holding on to you. I'm carrying you all the way back to my bedroom. Again, I'm making you lay on my lap. I'm drying you with the blower. Now, again, I'm putting the nappy. I'm putting the shirt. I'm putting the first button. I'm putting the second button. I'm putting the third button. I'm putting the fourth button. Now I know that you're very tired. I'm going to feed you with some milk. Now it is time for you to go to sleep. How is it? I know I did a bad job because it is almost like years since we have done this practically. You mothers will be able to do a better job compared to what I showed you now. The concept is very simple. Anything and everything, whatever you're doing, make sure that there is a conversation behind it. When you people are sitting at the dining table, having food, the complete duration of your food should be having a conversation only regarding the food. It is age relevant. The older the child, you can have more conversation, but the conversation should be only related to that particular thing, what you're doing. We all do it. Maybe we don't know the reason why we are doing it. Simple. Maybe few of you are doing this, but maybe you didn't know why you're doing this. Concept is very simple. Say and do is a concept wherein whatever you're doing, you're always conversing about it and talking about it and then doing it. And all the fathers out there, the message to you is, when you come back from the office, spend at least 10 minutes talking to your child. Don't understand. You don't have to be very, that's the reason why the storytelling comes into the picture. Remember the first day I told you, your entire ability to be a good parent depends on how good you are a storyteller. Make an attempt. When you come back from the office, at least for 10 minutes, share your entire day's experience with your child. I left in the morning at 9 o'clock. I got stuck in the traffic. So and so happened. Then I went to the office. I met my colleagues. My colleague's name is XYZ. My boss name is XYZ. Then I had such a bad day, or maybe you had a very good day. When you got back into the traffic, lunch, what did you have? You had carried, your mama had prepared these things for lunch. For you, the lunch is different. For me, the lunch is different. And you talk about your friends, you talk about your boss, you talk about your work. When you're going out of station, tell your child, I'm going out of station. I'm not going to be seeing you for another 2-3 days. But when I'm away from you, definitely I'm going to make a call. I'm going to make a video call. Through that, I'm going to speak to you also. You can say hi to me. I'll say hi to you. And when I come back from out of station, and this is, maybe download a picture of a toy and show that toy to your child and tell, this is a toy I'm going to bring when I'm going to meet you. And make sure that you're going to bring that toy back. The purpose of doing all this is you're creating neural connection. I have not come into the activities at all. There are thousands and hundreds and thousands of activities what you can pick up from the internet and do it. Just by changing your interaction with your child, you're already creating n number of neural connections, because that is being done with an intention of say and do. This is a bulb on moment now. Whatever you're doing with your child, in fact, you know what? Even today, when we go to a hotel, from the moment I leave my home, we all sit in a car and we drive, till we reach hotel, the entire journey is full of conversation with what we are going to eat in the hotel, nothing else. There might be music played in the background, but still our conversation is only about food. Last time, where did we go? Last time, when we went out, what did we choose? Today, what we're going to have? What is the starter we're going to tell? What is the soup we're going to order? What is the main course we're going to order? Are we going to have roti and chapatis? Or are we going to have some rice? By the time we reach hotel, our mouth is already watery. My kids don't have any issues with the food. Any food, like they don't have this picky, they're not picky eaters. I don't like this, I don't like this. Because from the day one, whenever we are eating, the conversation on the dining table is only about the food. Okay? I'm not saying that it has to be only that, but in the back of your mind, your focus should be only that. This is called as say and do. Anything you're doing with your child, only by changing your lifestyle and changing your method and the way you interact with your child on a daily basis, I can guarantee you will be creating a lot of neural connections. The smaller the child, the bigger the neural connections what will be created. The concept is very simple. By 8 months, the brain has about 1,000 trillion neural connections. By early experiences and the exposures of the main factors of this reduction of numbers, our brain operates on use it or lose it basis. It's your responsibility to make sure that these neural connections are made. As simple as that. Whether you send them to school or you send them to activity centers, you spend lakhs of rupees sending them to school thinking that something is going to happen there. Even if you do that, what kind of experiences you're giving at home, that is the foundation on which these neural connections is going to happen. Because if they go to the school, it's only for 2 to 3 hours. The balance time, the child is spending time at home, right? And this is a pictorial representation. A newborn baby got so many brain cells, but they're all hanging loose, no connections. Between 0 to 6 years, synaptic activity will be at its peak. And after 6 years, the pruning effect will start happening. Okay, so keep this in your back of mind and then start doing activities, then it will have more results. Okay, now I'm into second topic. Okay, 9 o'clock now. I'll take another 15 minutes and I'll close the session for today. Okay, this is my second concept for the day. It's called a whole brain learning. Please type RTL in the chat box. I hope all of you know what is RTL. Ready to learn. Okay, left and the right brain. Most of you probably have heard of this, or maybe you would have had even in the corporate trainings and all, they use this concept of left brain learning and right brain learning. In a nutshell, left brain is referred to as a logical brain and right brain is referred to as a creative brain. So what are the parameters? Left brain essentially covers logical thinking, analytical thinking, rational thinking, set pattern, mathematics, directions, fear and inhibitions. Right brain covers creativity, emotions, problem solving, simplifying, time saving, intuition, instant knowing, and big picture. Okay, so this is a very powerful concept, and by default, whatever we do, it will be either catering to the left or the right brain. In your opinion, if I had to ask you a question, in your opinion, which do you think is the most important? Please post your comment on the chat box. Is it left brain or your right brain? Given an option, according to you, which one you will be giving more weightage? You want to give it for the left or the right brain? Stella is saying right brain. Anybody else? Bible, right. Right brain. Everybody is thinking of right brain. Yeah. Too much of information on the internet. Both are equally important. Okay, of course, I'll come to why you all feel that right is even more important, but in general, both are equally important. That's what is the whole brain learning. Left and the right has to be balanced. Okay, for example, I'll tell you. If I ask you, think of all these things. Okay, so I'll tell you why this right is more. Like most of you are feeling right is more important. For example, individually, if you start comparing it. Like mathematics is there on the left hand side, okay, but problem solving is there on the right hand side. Mathematics is there on the left and the problem solving is there on the right. So when you compare these two, which one you feel that your child should be more, which one do you give the more weightage? Obviously problem solving, right? So when you start comparing all these things with each one, somewhere down the line we feel that right is more effective in today's day and age. For example, if I ask you to think of 3 or 4 characters which you have come across in your life, maybe your classmates or college mates or your colleagues. Try to imagine a scenario wherein you had one of your friend in your class who was so totally brilliant. Okay. Any question the teacher is asking, he always used to raise his hand and he knew answers for almost everything. And there are few people in our life whom we totally we get overwhelmed. They can talk about everything and anything in the world. They can talk about politics, they can talk about music, they can talk about sports, anything. We feel that they're so intelligent. But maybe if you look at them on a whole, they might not be all as successful in their life. But logically, they are extremely good. But apart from the logics, You also need to be good in how good you are in creative, how good you are in handling emotions, problem solving, simplifying, time saving. All these things, especially in today's day and age, they are having more weightage. According to one of the statistics, yeah, amazing. EO. EO means, Princey, what do you mean by EO? Okay. Like if you according to one of the statistics, out of every 10 lakh students appearing for a board exam, either it is eye opener, thank you. Either it is 10th or 12th, out of every 10 lakh students, at least about 10 or 12 will commit suicide. That is the statistics, Indian statistics. They're good just because they didn't get that maybe additional 1 or 2%. They go to the extreme scenario wherein they're going to commit a suicide. Logically, analytically, they're all good, but maybe emotionally, they're totally gone wrong. You can relate to a couple of your classmates whom you thought probably they were extremely brilliant academically. Maybe now you call them up and find out they're totally, you can't even imagine they're leading such a horrible life, which you could never imagine. They're so brilliant academically, they're so good. Now maybe they lost track, maybe because of some love affair or maybe some bad habits, whatever. Problem solving, not good at. Many of our own colleagues, they quit jobs only citing an example that my boss is not good. Interpersonal relationships, they're all part of your right brain. To the extent that we don't even know where are our marks cards. How many of you remember where is your degree certificates? Which played an important role. The moment you walked out of your school, maybe whatever the degree, engineering, medical, whatever you've done, we don't even know where are our degree certificates because it carries importance only that particular year when we finish our education. Once we get into the, whether you become an entrepreneur or you get into any corporate also, your elevation in your life will totally depend on other parameters like how good you are in creativity, how good you are in handling emotions, problem solving. That's how even you get the elevation in your corporate world, right? The degree certificate will start slowly taking the backseat. Because in today's day and age, especially, this is where you've been focusing upon. Invariably, you'll be focusing upon this. So we know somewhere down the line, right brain is more relevant in today's age compared to the left brain. But unfortunately, our entire educational system, starting from pre-nursery till the university level, the focus is given only for the left brain. How many of you accept with me on this? Please type yes on the chat box. Our entire focus in our academics and schooling is given only for the left brain. Not much is being done for the right brain. This is also not a rocket science. All of us know, all of us are aware of these facts. How many of you notice I'm actually getting into that why concept now? Please type why in the chat box. This is going to be a bulb on moment for you, this particular topic. My only $1 million question to all of you is, we know, all of us, we know that right brain is more relevant compared to the left brain. And we also know that our entire education system, the schooling, the focus is given only onto the left brain. My only question is, why do you think our educational system is designed like this? Why can't they do anything more only for the right brain? Take your time, think for a 10 or 20 seconds and come up with your comment on the chat box. I want to interact with you now. Why do you think our education system doesn't focus more on the right brain? Rather, it focuses only on the left brain. In your opinion, I wish I could give you access to unmute yourself, but anyway, we don't have time. You can put your comment on in your opinion, why do you think our education system is focusing only on the left brain, not on the right brain? I think because right brain is before the school age of 5 to 6 years. Sort of, you're right. Right brain works on the subconscious mind. Okay, right brain activity should be done by parents. But why? Why not by teachers, Madhurima? Once you get an answer for this, no, your child is really blessed. 80% of your parenting responsibility is done with this concept. I can guarantee you that. There is one bulb on moment for all of you. The reason why our entire education system doesn't focus much on the right brain is essentially because the right brain development, all the parameters, whatever you're seeing here on the right brain, they should be dealt only with one-to-one intervention. It can't be done on a mass education. Left brain activity needed for a future job and other opportunities. Not required. That's what we just came to, Swetha James. Even for the jobs, maybe your degree certificate is required, but to sustain a job and get elevation, you have to be good in right brain. That's what we just now discussed. Are you with me on this? Getting a job, obviously, a degree certificate will get you a job, but from there onwards, the degree certificate doesn't carry any weightage. Especially if you want to get into entrepreneurship and stuff like that. You don't require degree at all. Right? The concept is very simple. The right brain, the parameters, whatever you can see here, all this can be dealt only with one-to-one. It can't be done with the mass education. All our schools and education institutions work on a concept of mass education. For example, supposing if there is an issue with any one of yours, you have an issue with emotions. What do? We have to take to a counselor, right? The counselor is going to sit with you maybe for a couple of sittings, and he wants to know everything, whatever has happened to your life since your childhood. Then probably he'll come up with a solution which is ideally meant only for you. That solution will not be used for me. It might not be suitable for XYZ. It is tailor-made solution. It is dealt on a one-to-one basis. In schools, they will not be able to give that to you. It's always worked on a mass education. I'll give one more bulb on moment to make you understand this concept even better. There could be a lot of parents sitting out here who probably have experienced these schools. Okay, maybe your child is around 2.5, 3 years. You already searched a lot of schools in your locality. And certain schools, some schools, they're charging totally exorbitant amount, maybe like 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs. I'm talking about even same pre-Montessori and stuff like that. There are schools which charge about 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs. When you go and ask them what is the rationale behind so much of admission fee, few of you would have seen this kind of an answer, okay, from the school authorities. They claim that our student-teacher ratio is only 1:5 or 1:10. How many of you have seen this? Has anybody heard of this? The school charging exorbitant amount like 2 lakhs and above. When you ask them a rationale behind it, they say our student-teacher ratio is only 1:5 or 1:10. We don't want to crowd our classrooms with 30, 40 students. We have only 5. We make sure the focus goes there. Is this a bulb-on moment for you? Because every school, they also know the fact that the best way to deal with the child is when we interact with them on a one-to-one basis. But obviously, they can't have a scenario wherein they make the ratio 1:1. They'll claim that maybe 1:5 or 1:10 because it's not practical. No, they can't have 10 students in a classroom and have 10 teachers or 10 maid servant. Not possible. But best what they can do is only 1:5 or maybe 1:10. Max is 1:10. 1:5, not many. I'll give you one more bulb on moment. How many of you experienced few schools in your locality? Because of a real estate problem, they don't have so much of luxury of having so many different classrooms. They can't have a classroom with only 10 students and still have admissions of more than 300, 400. Because they need to have so many more classrooms. They don't have such a big premises. What they do is, they still have 40 students, 50 students in a classroom. They'll try to have additional staff. They claim that for every class, there'll be 2 or 3 teachers. If there is a maths class happening, there are about 3 teachers standing inside the class and interacting with all the children. Now, how many of you have come across this kind of education institutions? In Bangalore, I can name plenty, like Narayana School, Chaitanya School. There are many, many academically oriented schools who boast of having 3 to 4 teachers in a classroom. Is this a bulb-on moment? Because every educational institution, the entire industry, education, they know the secret. They know ultimately the concept is very simple. children require one-to-one intervention, which no educational system will be able to give it to any student. Who can give it to the child? Only parent. As a parent, it is one and only responsibility for every parent. If you want to give a foundation for whole brain learning, especially that right brain stimulation, only person in the world who can do it the best is a parent, nobody else. Because no matter how much of money you spend for the school, 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh, any idea anybody has done mathematics here? The calculations part I'm talking about. By the time your child comes out of this college, you would have spent about 25 to 30 lakhs. Please do the calculation, you will get an answer. Minimum, assuming that your child is a brilliant student, will get a lot of scholarships and you don't have to pay the capitation fee, you'll be spending minimum 25 to 50 lakhs for your child's education. But no matter how much money you spend, your child will be still devoid of this whole brain learning, because it is only your responsibility to take a lead and make sure that your child gets the additional stimulation for right brain as well. The concept number one, the reason number one is this can't be dealt on a mass education. This has to be dealt on a one-to-one basis. The second reason is the right brain is dominantly operating only up to the age of 6 to 7 years. During the first few years after the child is born, the right brain is dominantly working. Remember the first day activity I gave you? Having food in your dinner in your right hand, brushing your teeth. Not many of you, I don't know how many of you did it because you didn't share your feedback. Most of you are engaged in having a feedback and emotional reasoning. Maybe a few of you missed out these two activities. You would have seen that, no? Like your child wants to go and you want your child to go and shake hand with a guest you have at home. Invariably, out of 9 occasions, 9 out of 10, the child will be extending the left hand. And we'll all be pouncing on the child. Nahi beta, aise mat karna, please shake hand with your right hand. You want to give some holy offering, the child is raising the left hand, and then we make a correction. Nahi beta, you have to extend your right hand. We all do that, no? Essentially, the concept is very simple. Every child, they love to use only left hand because the right brain is dominantly working at that particular point of time. So any one of you from the medical background, you'll be able to coach with me the fact the right brain controls the left portion of the body and left brain controls the right portion of the body. That's how they are intertwined, those brain connections. So this is another reason due to which our entire academics, they don't create any stuff for learning for the right brain. They can't, even if they do it, no, by the time the child is around 6, 7 years, by the time they cross first standard, second standard, the left is already overtaken, and most of the curriculum, whatever they design, that will be catering only for the left brain. So these are the two strong reasons. We all know the theory part of it. We know that both left and right brain are equally important, or somewhere down the line, the right is more important compared to the left. But unfortunately, we know that no education system is giving that also. But in spite of that, we don't mind spending lakhs and lakhs of rupees. I'm not saying don't send your children to the school. That is not my agenda. Don't take me wrong. My agenda is only to make you a why parent now. Irrespective of how much of money you spend and what kind of school you put your child to, by spending lakhs and thousands and lakhs of rupees, if you are not doing certain things as a parent, your child is still devoid of whole brain learning, because no education system will be able to cater much to this right brain because of these two strong reasons. One reason is they have to be done only on a one-to-one basis. The second is it has to be done before they are about 6 to 7 years or 8 years max. That is exactly where we come into the picture. When we were doing a research on these kind of opportunities, I mean, we have almost like attended hundreds of programs on this early child development, like Glenn Dorman. There are many, many scientists like Glenn Dorman, Shichida concept and Huguru concept. There are many, many concepts which are parallelly being run to regular academics. But unfortunately, they all not become so popular. They have not become so popular only because it has to be implemented only on a one-to-one basis. Those are the opportunities which we came across when we got exposed to these kind of early child development programs. But before I go into that, I want all of you to make up a strong mind that if you are ready for it, if you are taking to proceed further, there are big opportunities which is waiting in front of you. What you can do, how we can do, the complete details of which I'll be coming up in tomorrow's session. Okay, that is what is a blueprint session which I have it for tomorrow. But please remember, it's nothing like a magic genie. You know that secret, you'll be able to do it. There is a lot of consistency and persistency and commitment what we require from the parents. And parenting is not a 5-day journey, it is a lifetime commitment. There are many areas wherein you can focus upon early child development based on this whole brain learning concept. The details of which I'm going to be revealing it to you in tomorrow's session. Please attend tomorrow's session live, because as a policy, we will not be giving you the recordings. I want each one of you, whatever I'm announcing, we have already announced it well in advance, make the necessary arrangements, come and attend tomorrow's session, and be prepared to take another decision. How do you want to proceed further with your child development, early child development? At least for 1 year, what you want to give. If you're ready with that, then I can promise you there are many things what you can give. The complete details I'm going to be revealing in tomorrow's session. Okay. And to end the session, I've already given you the activities for the day. Okay. I hope all of you have made a note of it. One is list all the negatives and try to replace them with the positive affirmative sentences, and also say and do. And I'll be sending you about 8 to 9 testimonies today in the group of all those parents, like-minded parents like you, who have come into our program and learned many things and implemented things on a longer duration, which requires at least around 6 months, 1 year and above. The kind of results what they've got, tangible results. What moment you look at those testimonials, you'll be saying, wow, this is what I can expect. Yes. So please go through these testimony videos, which I'll be sharing with you, and come back for tomorrow's session with an open mind that there are many things what you can probably learn and do it, and how probably you want to proceed. You make that emotional reason. Okay. With whatever the concept which we have given you till date, 4 days, that should be helping you to create that emotional reason, because use it or lose it. If you don't make use of it now, and maybe after a couple of years, you come back, and even if you want to do it, even if we give it to you, you will not be able to implement so many things. Earlier, the better. That's it. On that note, good night, all of you. Take care. Shubhratri, and see you in tomorrow's session. God bless you all. And I'll be sharing you a couple of links wherein I expect a couple of your feedback on how this 4 days went. Okay. That feedback is exactly based on which we'll be coming up with the future sessions and how we can make it more interesting for the parents as well. Okay. Take care, all of you. Good night. God bless.